One of the changes made in the 2009 Constitution was the formation of a Public Accounts Committee, a body with legal powers to look into government expenditure and ensure that that expenditure is effective and honest.
So, in essence then, a body committed to checking what the government spends and whether it gives value for money to the taxpayer, something we should all be behind.
The establishment of the PAC was a really good step for the Falklands and, as you say, for the islands in general. It is there to scrutinise government spending and to make sure that we're achieving value for money, and that is, of course, in everyone's interests. So it's an important body and one I think we all support.
The PAC here in the Falklands meets on a regular basis and will look at any project or group that involves government money. This could be FIMCO, FIDC, Falklands Conservation, the Museum, Stanley Services, or the Media Trust, who receive a subvention each year of £272,000 to fund the radio station. The PAC will also examine major projects like they did in 2019 when they released a critical report into the renovations on the swimming pool.
At the most recent meeting, the PAC looked into a draft report into the Falklands College project, and what strikes the reader straight away is the limited progress made by the PAC simply because of the lack of information being released by FIG to them.
On the first page it reads, "In particular, there has been an almost total lack of cooperation from the Public Works Department over a period of more than 6 months. Also, there are relevant Executive Council papers that have been identified, but not yet released to the PAC."
This is only 4 paragraphs into a 39-page document, and already it appears that working with the PAC is not seen as a priority by FIG departments, in spite of the PAC's constitutional and statutory role. And, as the report states, that is a matter of concern.
And that's not all. Even more concerning is that over a decade after the PAC was established by the Constitution, it cannot effectively use its legal powers to obtain information because an order that was made in 2010 has still not yet been brought into force.
As we all know, the movement from one contract officer to another is a regular occurrence, so it's not surprising that information could be tricky to get hold of and, according to one government department, extremely time-consuming. But this isn't an annoying journalist asking for information. This is the Public Accounts Committee with a constitutional and statutory role. The report is in draft form at the moment, and it does state that it is premature to make findings or recommendations in relation to the Falklands College project simply because the PAC does not yet have any information about what the project was meant to cost or what it actually did cost in the end. Equally, the PAC has no information about the planned life of the building, nor its expected life costs.
What the draft report does do is identify lines of inquiry, the 3 main ones being the cost in time and money of the decision to include the library in the build, whether there have been effective working relationships between PWD, Morrison RSK and the Education Department, and whether there was a clear vision about what the Falklands College was intended to achieve, so that the actual level of achievement can be measured against it.
The draft report lists numerous times when the PAC requested information but had no response. It's noted in the document that FIG seems to think that it has 6 months to respond to a request. Indeed, on page 11, the report remarks that the PAC made a number of requests to the Public Works Department, with an email response finally being received on the 29th of March of this year, 6 months to the day after it was requested, although it didn't contain any of the actual information that PAC required. The director did say that the documents were stored and saved to project in a box and would therefore be extremely time-consuming to produce copies, suggesting instead that a member of the PAC come and sit with someone to review the information and to decide whether copies would be required. It's clear from the draft report that in trying to gather information, the PAC was met with FIG departments being disobliging, disinterested and in some cases downright uncooperative. At this point, the PAC could have flexed its power by obtaining evidence using a summons, and this is where they had more issues.
The PAC's power is set out in Section 81, subsection 6 of the Constitution, and is also in Section 19 of the Public Accounts Committee Ordinance. Clause 19 enables the committee to issue a formal summons, if it needs to do so, to compel a person to appear before the committee and provide information.
That seems clear enough, but a summons or a warrant enforcing a summons must be in a prescribed form. And although an order prescribing those forms was made in 2010, that order has not been brought into force. And to top it all off, there's an error in how the form for a summons is shown on the Statute Law database.
The Statute Law Commissioner has indicated that the error will be corrected and the order finally brought into force.
The report is still in its draft form and the PAC will continue to work on this project. They may have come across some difficulties and there are still avenues to explore with regards to expenditure and timeframes and achievement. But what is encouraging is that this new facility is actually valued and used by the community.